welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Dani and this is Coffee Break with Dani. Today I'm super excited, I'm pumped, I'm ready to do this, but I am a little pre-upset because I cheated a little bit. Today we're here with, I think, episode 4 or 5 of Girl Chat or Dear Dani, and this is a really cool video concept we came up with during this glorious year we've had, where we could just hang out, have some girl chat, answer some questions, rant anonymously about really silly stuff or really important stuff. And I'm just here to please. I'm aiming to please. I'm here to hang out with you guys. So if you guys have a beverage of choice, a drink of choice, something that you enjoy, your wine subscription just arrived like mine did. Hello, Winc, right here, sitting next to me. I do have to say, I'm very proud of myself because today I'm not putting ice cubes in my wine. I've grown up. Now I have a little wine Yeti. This was a gift, a Christmas gift. Like someone, I think someone was trying to hint at it, you know, like. Today we're here with another episode of Dear Dani, but before we get into it, I do want to say thank you to Winc for sponsoring this video. I don't know what you guys are doing, but whatever it is, it's working because they keep extending the 50% off promo. I probably should have prefaced it and built up a little bit to disclose the promo in this video, but I was too excited. You guys, I'm the person that eats the food she likes the most first. Like, I don't save it to the end. Like, I don't have that kind of patience. So that's the promo, and that's what we're rolling with. I want to show you guys the Winc that I got this time. It always comes in this amazing little car seat. It's like, it's more secure than a car seat. I have never, ever had any issues with my wine delivery from Winc. Ever. Like, it is so safe. We got Chop Chop, like you've seen me talk about this before. This one and Folly of the Beast are our two favorite reds that we get. Chop Chop is a cab. I have another oldie but goodie, or one that I do really enjoy, and this is Outer Sounds. I haven't told you guys this, but I tend to cook with this, especially if I have something like scallops, tilapia, cod. This is a really, really cooking friendly wine, and you can cook at the same time. You know what I'm trying to say. All right, then I decided to try this new one. I love this brand. I tried it in my previous month's delivery in the white version, but this is a 2019 red wine blend. Y'all know how I am, but I don't get headaches with blends. I guess I'm not a purebred kind of girl, okay? But the one I thought we would try today, which I pre-chilled for purposes of this video. You guys, I knew you were coming over, so I wanted to show off. So I pre-chilled the Cause 2019 Rosé. Probably because I have a soft spot for rosé, but anyway, this is how I roll. So if you guys haven't heard about Winc before, they are a Winc subscription that ships nationwide. It's kind of awesome, and today we're here with a promo of 4 wines for $30, including free shipping. If you guys don't like to be bullied, oh, I'm sorry, I'm blocking my co-star over there. If you don't like to be bullied when it comes to time frames and things like that, Winc works with you. So if you want to add wine to your order, you can do that. If you want to skip a month, you can do that. If you want to cancel, you can do that. And it's easy. It's not like a lot of those other memberships where it's like, can I talk to a human, please? Can somebody cancel? No, it's super easy to cancel your membership if you needed to. I don't see why you would want to with summer around the corner and kids home from school. So Winc is not only flexible, but it also makes your search easy. So if you wanted to mix it up next month and you're like, I want a low calorie wine, a low sugar wine, I want a keto friendly wine, or I just want one that tastes bomb, you can narrow your search, you can filter your search based on all your dietary needs or preferences, and you can also go through the 5 million customer reviews on the wines on the website already. So it's kind of one of the, do you buy stuff based on reviews on Amazon? Like I do. If I see it doesn't have a good review, no matter how much I want it, I'm like, well, You know, Susie in Idaho said I wouldn't like it, so I'm not gonna get it. So you can actually go through the reviews, and there's over 5 million of them. And I think the best part about this is that you get the most bang for your buck. It's one of those things where you can get a very high quality wine at a very, very affordable price. I mean, lower than grocery stores, liquor stores, or whatever you have around your neighborhood. These 4 wines, $30, free shipping, it's 50% off. You guys need to start pre-gaming for summer break. That's where I am. You know, we just got through spring break. I'm like, all right, we got Memorial Day and then we got summer. I can do this because I have a wine cup now. So we are going to pour a small, subtle, humble glass of, ooh, maybe not so small, glass of cause, and we are going to get to these questions. But the reason that I told you that I cheated was because I like to go in blind with these questions. Like, I really like to go in blind so you can see my raw first impression on what I think when I'm reading your question, your rant, your confession, or whatever. I read some of them, and now I need some addresses. You know, like I need some names and phone numbers because I just want to talk to your mother-in-law for a sec, you know? You guys really need a loyal friend like me, or maybe you don't, because you might need to bail me out of jail at some point. So it's risky, you know, like I'll have your back, but then I might be in jail. So it's just not a good combo. So we're gonna put these wines away so I don't have things to throw while I answer your questions. But I'm really excited because a lot of them are super cute, but a lot of them are also very, very curious. Y'all really wanna know the tea. You wanna know like the private family matters. I mean, I respect that, I'm curious too. But y'all don't wait on the Winc thing, because seriously, every time they're like, we don't know how long this 50% off is gonna last. I'm like, I can't live like this. You gotta tell me. I gotta be able to tell the pandas. Do they need to do it now? Do they need to pull the trigger now? Pull the trigger now, you guys. Just do it. You just gotta do it. We are running out of the box with a really good one, and this is from my friend Alex. I know she wouldn't mind me saying this, or rather saying it was her. What is your best boy mom advice? My son is 1. Okay, I think the best parental advice is do what you think is right for your family. You know your kids best. Obviously your mom's gonna be like, well, when you were growing up, A, B, C, and D. And your mother-in-law is gonna be like, well, when Joe was growing up, A, B, C, and D. Like, everyone has an opinion about the 4 walls they don't live in. And when it comes to a child and its mom, we have this bond that is unlike any other connection I've ever felt with a pet or a relationship or anything. And we know our kids best. So always go with your gut. Always follow your heart when it comes to your child. You literally can read their minds. I know that sounds crazy. I think when they get to maybe 13 or 14 and up is when it starts to get a little vague and it's a little trickier. But when they're still under your complete care and guidance, you can literally read their minds. You know what's going on. So don't allow yourself to get distracted by the noise from other people and their helpful advice, because that's never helpful. So always, always, always follow your gut and your heart when it comes to your babies, because we know them best. 100%, y'all. It's kind of creepy sometimes. I've been diagnosed with Cyclothymia and haven't told many people because of judgment. I think I'm familiar with this. I think it's a mental disorder. I'm sorry if I'm not using the correct vocabulary or proper terminology for it, but I think it's like a type of bipolar, but without such extremes. So you have bouts of depression or bouts of happiness, but they're seasonal. Like they're not as extreme as bipolar, but they do come and go like someone that is bipolar. And I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of. I don't think anything regarding mental health is anything to be ashamed of. I think it's been taboo for long enough. And if we don't start tearing down those walls or those stereotypes, then we're not gonna make the progress that we deserve. I was telling my mom that I go to therapy and I really love it. And she just laughed and was like, why do you need to pay a therapist when you can just talk to your parents or your friends? Like, that's just dumb. Like, we know you best. Why can't we give you advice? And I'm like, oh, you're probably the reason why I'm going to therapy. No, but I think that if we don't take that first step into breaking down that taboo and breaking down those walls, then it's not something that will get any better. And I think that anyone that isn't sensible or reasonable to listening with an open heart, and I think anybody that loves you and cares about you is gonna wanna see you at your best. And if that means understanding this and getting a better understanding of what's going on, what it means, and how they can help, then it's probably not someone you want in your corner, but it's also something that maybe would take people time to understand. And if I'm super quite honest with you, I think in this day and age, with the year and a half that we've had, or rather year and a half I've had, but the year that we've had, all of us are experiencing some kind of low-grade trauma, seasonal depression, pandemic depression, social anxiety. And so now would probably be a really good time to bring up the subject. I think ultimately it's one of those things that will be based on your time frame, like your timeline and what you feel comfortable with. But I also don't think you should hold it like a secret. It's not a secret, you know, it shouldn't be something that you're ashamed of or that is a secret. That's not fair to you or to your life. You know, you should be able to, if it's something you want to share, you shouldn't feel like it's a secret. If it's something you don't want to share, you don't have to either. That's personal. But being afraid of judgment is something that is applicable to everything. You know, everyone is always going to judge, no matter if it's a mental disability or how much money you spend on groceries or how you're raising your kids. People will always judge you, but you can't stop living your life based on how people are going to think about you or say about you or feel about you. You can only control you. You know, what people say about you says everything about them. How you respond to them says everything about you. So always keep that in mind. Don't be afraid to live your life because people might judge. Don't be afraid to live your truth because people might judge. Be you, love you. People will judge regardless. Might as well live your best life. Is it possible to recover from making mistakes in a relationship if the love is there? I think it's possible to recover from all and any and all mistakes. I think that it's a very complex question. How big was the mistake? How willing is the person to forgive you, or how willing are you to forgive? It takes time and it takes patience. And I think that when a wound is really deep, the majority of us aren't equipped with the strength and the patience to actually rebuild. So a lot of factors play a role in that, but ultimately love is the biggest factor here. It's the biggest component of the equation. It's the one that matters the most. So if the love's there and both people are willing to work and put in the time and effort and have the patience to ride it out. I know in my first marriage, I didn't. We tried, but it was a very superficial try for 9 years, but there were such deep wounds from the very beginning of our relationship that I never truly healed from, and that just carried on through our relationship. And so anytime a mistake was made, like, it would just rehash that because I never healed from it. So if your heart's actually in it, if you actually can let it go, move on and heal, and the love is there, I don't see why you can't move on very gracefully and make a full recovery. But it's very hard work. Most people don't want to do the hard work. So I hope you do. I mean, if the love's there on both sides, there's a lot of ifs here. Dani, you are my sister. Yep, you are so stuck with me. Yay! Y'all, I never had any sisters, so I get really attached to my female relationships. When I find someone I like, I'm like, you can't break up with me. Like, I hope you know that. I always threaten Sam. I'm like, you do understand that you can't leave me, right? Like, it's in our agreement. So that's awesome. I'm happy to have you. What is the process in finding the right therapist for you? I feel like I need help, but I don't know where to start. You just got to start. And that's the thing, is I saw several therapists before settling on this one, and it's either there or it's not. It's like a relationship. You either have the chemistry or you don't. They either listen to you in the way you need them to or they don't. So you have to start. You can start by figuring out if you have medical insurance, if they will cover a part of it. Mental health is never covered 100%, so that's one factor. My insurance doesn't cover any sort of psychotherapy or therapy, none of that. Doesn't cover any of it. So start off by, if you have medical insurance, finding out if it's covered. If it is, find out who the medical providers are. Pick someone from the list. Just close your eyes and narrow it down. Does it matter if it's male or female? Does it matter their office hours? Some only work mornings, some only work evenings. So narrow it down and pick one. If that doesn't work, pick someone else until you find someone that you actually have chemistry with. That's the most important part, because if you don't like your therapist, therapy won't work. You have to like your therapist. And I don't mean like them like, hey, you want to go grab some Winc together? No, I mean someone that you feel you can bare your soul with. Like, hey, when I was little, A, B, and C happened to me. Or, hey, now my mom makes me feel like this. Or, hey, my husband does this to me. Whatever. You know, someone you can bare your soul with and feel free and comfortable of any judgment, and that will actually help and contribute to your growth as... Do you guys like how I'm hiding my phone? Like it's a test. Someone that will contribute to your growth as a person and your development. The whole point of therapy is to look inward, understand, learn, break patterns, you know, and be better. You know, realize why you are the way you are and break those patterns of behavior that hold you back from being the best version of yourself. If you think you need help, you do. Like, there's no doubt. If you ever start to question, yes, you do. Like, just start. All you have to do is start. Hey, I want to start my own business. Start. Hey, I want to start dating. Start. The hardest part is just starting. But that's how I would start, is just start with insurance first, then, you know, narrow it down and just set up an appointment and see where it goes. It might be the best day of your life. It might be the worst, but you have started, and that's the hardest step. Do men get smarter after marriage? No, they don't. Maybe the reverse happens. There's a lot of like discipline and parenting questions. So here's, I'm going to combine two, for example, just to give you an idea. What do you do when you and your spouse don't see eye to eye on disciplining the kids? And do you and Parker have different parenting styles? If so, does it become an issue? I think in like a gross summary, regardless of whether or not you're in a blended family or not, when there's two people parenting kids, all right, we just need to cool down for a second back there. If there's two parents trying to parent kids, there's always going to be different opinions. There's always going to be different methods. There's always going to be different styles. There's always going to be the possibility for differing opinions when it comes to that. My co-parent and I parent the kids differently. Parker and I parent our kids very differently, but it's so complex. You know, my co-parent is a little more strict with like academics, but not behavior. And I'm like super duper hella strict when it comes to behavior and not academics. Parker is a lot more old-fashioned when it comes to gender role discipline. So like you should be stricter on male kids, like boys, than you should be with girls. You should be a lot more lenient with girls. And so for me, it's like, I'm sorry, but I'm raising men, and these are gonna be contributing members of society, and I'm not gonna give them a break because they're boys, and I'm also not gonna ride their hiney because they're boys. You know, like, they're all treated the same. There's a saying in Spanish that says, todos coludos o todos rabones. It means like everyone has a long tail or everyone has a short tail, but they're treated the same. And I try to make it a point of not having very varying discipline when it comes to one household. So my kids don't start to say, hey, why do you treat the girls differently versus us? Or the girls don't say, why do you treat the boys differently versus us? But at the end of the day, if the boys are at their dad's house, he has his own set of rules, and I expect them to follow them. And I try not to interfere. And I encourage Parker to be present and discipline his girls the same as he would my boys, so that there's not that contrast, you know, but in and of itself, it's different. So it does cause conflict, and it does cause a lot of friction, because I'm like, hey, you were very strict with Mateo, and so just pulled the wool over your eyes and you said nothing. Like, either be present for both or be absent from both, but don't show that disparaging contrast, because at some point it will be obvious. And so we hold each other accountable on, hey, you passed here, like you let that pass and that wasn't okay, or you were too strict here, or you were too nice here. We both hold each other accountable. But I think ultimately creating a sort of seamless agreement where if we have an issue with how we parented or disciplined our kids, we talk about it in private, not in front of the kids. So if something happens and either I snap at one of the kids or Parker doesn't snap when he should, in that moment, we're not like, hey, whatever. No, it's always when it's us alone and the kids aren't present. As far as they're concerned, we parent the same and we have a united front. So if your partner can't do that and, you know, puts you in a precarious situation in front of the kids, that's not okay. Like it never has to happen in front of the kids. It has to be a united front so they don't know the difference. But hold your partner accountable and be clear, you know, like this is acceptable, this isn't, and how are we gonna figure it out? But yeah, absolutely, it causes conflict all the time, but being present and being an active participant in the development of your children is what's key, you know? As long as a parent is invested and shows that they're present, it's a lot better than a parent that's completely checked out, you know? So there's some positive in it if your parent, or if the parent you're talking about is too present, you know? Like I'll say my co-parent is very strict when it comes to academics, but I'd rather him be strict in academics than be absent and not care if my kids are failing, you know? It's a way to encourage having goals and doing better and reaching a certain level of excellence in your academics, which I know is something that is a big area of pride for my co-parent. For me, it wasn't, just because I tried really hard in school. I had sophomore standing. I graduated with a 4.1 or 2, I don't remember, and I'm still not doing anything with my career. So I can see how education isn't necessary all the time, but you should still pass. I get this question a lot and in many different languages, so I'll just answer this one, but I'm pretty sure it's come up several times, is how do you keep your house so clean and organized? That for me isn't a stressor. That for me is stress relief. If my house is a mess, I'm stressed. If my house is dirty, I'm stressed. If my house is unkept, it causes me stress. Having it clean, having it organized makes me feel like I have my shit together. So maybe it's like a false sense of confidence, but if my house is organized and clean, I feel like I'm at least doing good at something. So in some ways it's not a good thing because it's me encouraging like my neuroses, but it's also therapeutic for me. So if I'm stressed, I can relieve my stress by cleaning or vacuuming, or that's why my house is so clean, is because I'm in a permanent state of stress. No, but it's just how my mind works. I think it's part of what my mom like nailed into my head. Like, the way your house looks is the way your brain is right now. So if your house is dirty, your brain is dirty, like organize it. And it's funny now because when I look back, like my parents' house was never like spotless, but they always expected our rooms to be like military level organized, which now is how I am. And I've kind of passed it on to one of my boys, and I want to give them the opportunity to decide for themselves. This is what a clean and organized house looks like. We always know where our things are. Our shoes have a place. And if you want this in your home in the future, do it. If not, you have the option of not. But as long as we're here, we're going to be clean and organized. And it just helps me function better. And I know it's the same thing for Parker. And he's always told me, he's like, you have 2 full-time jobs. If I come home and there is no dinner on the table or the laundry hasn't been done in 3 weeks, I don't care. That doesn't equate to your worth or your value to me. And I'm like, no, it does to me. I know it doesn't to you, but to me it does. To me, it's a direct reflection of me and how I'm performing, and it makes me feel better to be on top of like the house. I don't know, I can think better if my house is clean. It's very weird. So don't be like me, it's stressful. What do you think your first post-pandemic adventure treat will be? Daydreaming here, but it would be Paris for me. We have a tentative trip scheduled for our 1-year anniversary. We got married in July and we want to go back to Mexico in July, the same resort we always go to, but it's so up in the air. Like, we locked in the dates, but we haven't pulled the trigger on anything else because from today to July, so many things can change, you know? So hopefully we can make it. We are going to see Parker's folks in the next few weeks, which is great. They're both vaccinated now. We've missed them so much. We haven't seen them since last July, so it's been a hot minute. The kids need to spend time with the grandparents. My boys have met them, and it's a very special treat for the boys to spend time with Parker's parents because Parker's parents had 2 sons. So having 2 rambunctious little boys tear up their house for 2 days, Parker's parents are never that happy to see me when it's just me. When they know the boys are coming, they're like, let them destroy the house, you know? It is such a... I don't care how people treat me, but if they treat my kids well, I'm like, whatever, you know, that my life is made. I'm in the happiest I ever am when people are kind to my boys. And so it makes me feel great. And man, you don't get time back. And it's been a year and we really miss them and we want to make sure they're okay. And when we knew that risk was there, because Parker's parents are a lot older than mine, it was just very upsetting because it was like, well, then when are we going to see them again? Like, you feel like a prisoner of your own life. You can't decide or plan things for yourself because it's like, well, you might make someone sick. It's so frustrating. But knowing that they're vaccinated and they would be safe and Parker's vaccinated, we're like, okay, we got to make this happen. Let's do it. We got to make, and it's probably going to happen in a few weeks and we're so excited. How do you deal with co-parenting? I think it's seasonal, you know. I think for the most part we get along really well. I would never consider my co-parent a friend. I think it makes things complicated or blurry, or it makes it easy for a violation of your boundaries to happen. But if he calls me with an emergency, I'll be the first person at his door. If something tragic happens in his life, I'll be the first one there to support him. If he needs help, I'll be the first one there to advocate, because my co-parent's mental health will directly affect my boys. And so I want him to be in optimal health, physical, mental, and emotional health, so that my boys can thrive. So if tragedy strikes, I'm gonna be there. If you need my help, I'm gonna be there. And so we communicate very well for the most part. He's moved on, I've moved on. We're very respectful of each other's times. We're very respectful of each other's rules. If something happens that's off color, that hurts our feelings, that something comes up, we talk about it. You know, this morning, and not to overshare, but this morning I called him and I said, hey, listen, I'm starting to get a little upset. I asked you about a specific weekend that I need on the calendar and I haven't heard back from you. And he calls me and he's like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, listen, you can't railroad me in this conversation. And before, our trigger, like, we had really bad communication, and our trigger would be like, he would scream and I'd scream louder, and then he'd scream louder, and then I'd scream louder, and then I'd cry, and then he'd scream louder, you know? And so we wouldn't get anywhere. We were terrible grown-ups. And so I said, hey, if you're gonna railroad me in this conversation, I don't wanna have this conversation with you right now. It literally took him that sentence to be like, I'm sorry, this happened, I'm a little stressed out, and I shouldn't have spoken to you that way. And I was like, it's totally fine. Listen, hey, let me tell you, this and this happened. And you just laugh about it and you play it off. Putting yourself in that person's shoes and always remaining human is so important, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the emotional and mental health of those kids that you brought into this world that didn't get to decide whether or not you guys got along or not, whether or not you cheated or not, whether or not you were not the nicest or not, you know? And so it's not the kid's fault, but at the end of the day, you got to remember, no matter what I do, if I put him in a bad mood, if he puts me in a bad mood, this comes back to the kids. If I'm not accommodating here, if he's not accommodating here, this comes back to the kids. If we don't agree on this or they don't agree on that, this comes back to, it always comes back to the children. And guess what? The only innocents here are the children. So it took us maybe a year and a half to get friendly, you know, to communicate very well, because what we were doing before obviously didn't work. And when we saw that it wasn't working still, but we still had to reach an agreement for the sake of our kids, I think we both had that come to Jesus moment where we were like, oh yeah, that's not good. I think, I know I say this a lot, but you know, how someone treats you says everything about them, and how you react or how you treat them says everything about you. It's very important. And when you know someone very well, I think if you have a co-parent, you know them well. Even if you're not on romantic terms anymore or even friendly terms, you know them well, and you know how to communicate with them in a way that will actually be productive to what you're trying to achieve. I'm very rigid on my boundaries, very rigid. And it took me years to learn that, but he actually respects them very well. And I appreciate that. And the other thing that helps too is I have really good open communication with my co-parent's significant other. You know, she's also very kind, very friendly, very accommodating, and it helps to have that open communication route. So if something's going on, if you need help with something, if you need to advocate about something, or you need to make arrangements, that line of communication is open. Whether or not it's friendly or whether or not you're friends or not, it doesn't matter. But as long as the branch is there and it's accessible to you, is a big, big, big help. So I can only speak for myself, you know, not any other relationship, but for us, I mean, yeah, I would show up for him whenever he needs me, because it's for the kids, you know. It's whatever we did as grown-ups and whatever mistakes we made, I let go of that a long time ago. All I want to make sure is that my kids are happy and that they thrive. And if that means that we have to be friendlier or show up for each other or check each other when we're crossing that line, or, you know, crossing the boundary, then you have to do that. But don't think about you or yourself or how it makes you feel, or what, just think about the kids. Stay focused on what your target is, and it's always the kids. And I think if you keep your eye on the target, on the prize, on this is for my kids, this is for my kids, this is for my kids, no matter how discouraged you feel and no matter how maybe you're not being heard, it helps you stay positive. It helps you stay motivated to want to achieve a good relationship. Are there toxic co-parents? Yes. Are there co-parents that think they're raising those kids on their own and they get to decide everything on their own and they get to spend lots of money and then just bill you for it? Yes. There are a lot of co-parents that don't have open lines of communication and make it hard, but I mean, all you can do is keep trying, because you're not just going to stop being a parent so you don't have to deal with this other person. No, you're just going to try harder, because your kids deserve that from you. Fiance and I have been working from home. We split bills equally, yet I do everything around the house. Please help, I'm tired. It's so funny. Parker worked from home one day. One day he got to do what I did, which is working from home and also running the house. It took him one day to be like, I don't know how you do it. So I don't know if you want to be mature about it or if you want to be petty about it, but you have two options. You can either talk to him like you're talking to me and say, hey, listen, we do everything else fairly. We do everything else equally. We do everything else. I don't see why this can't apply to this situation too. What if we do this? Let's make a list of chores, dishes, laundry, whatever. Let's make a list of chores, and you tell me which ones you would like to do. Don't tell him if you want to do them. Tell him, which ones do you want to do? He has to pick. And then I'll do the others. Seeing as you already do all the chores, I don't think you would mind what he picks or whatever. But make a list of, let's make a list of chores. And you pick what you want on the list and I'll do the others, and then it'll be fair. I'm just really tired. Or you could be petty spaghetti and just stop doing everything. If you're like super hella petty spaghetti, sometimes I have my moments, you know, sometimes I have my moments I'm not proud of where you're just completely passive aggressive, and you could just stop doing everything. Stop grocery shopping, stop doing the laundry, stop picking up his shoes, stop, I don't know, washing the dishes, and let it pile up. Let the house fall apart and then be like, I'm so sorry, babe. You know what happened was I do everything. And I'm really tired right now. I don't feel good. I have cramps. I've had a headache for a week. I'm really stressed out. I can't do 2 full-time jobs. How do you feel about us splitting the house chores just like we split the bills? That would make me really happy and would help me a lot. But a lot of people learn by noticing, by seeing the house falling apart and the dirty dishes and the no food in the sink or in the pantry or the fridge. Like, a lot of people learn that way, like the hard way. And a lot of people will actually learn the simple way where you're like, I made a list of chores. I'm sorry to spring this on you, but I'm really tired. And I know we do a really good job at splitting the bills, and I was hoping we would do a really good job at splitting the house chores too. Do you want to help me? Please, you know, I don't know, whatever works. I don't know how your man understands communication, but if I did the passive aggressive version with Parker and I just let the house fall apart, the man would not notice. He wouldn't notice the dishes in the sink. He wouldn't notice the piled up laundry. He wouldn't notice. He'd be like, oh, just Dani's busy. But if I said, hey babe, like, I made a list, I'm super overwhelmed, work is so hard, these are all the chores I do you think you could help? He would take the whole list and do it himself because he loves me, and that's how understanding he is. But I can't approach him in the negative way. And I would say the majority of men do not respond to being passive aggressive, to being petty, to being angry. Like, they're not used to that. They don't like that. And if they had a mom like me, they didn't grow up with a mom that speaks to them that way either. So I think it might backfire. Can we discuss the shoe chaos in homes with 4+ people, kids and adults? We have 6 people in the house and I have multiple shoes. So I can understand how this is crazy and could probably end up looking like a hot mess real quick. I'm gonna insert a picture of what I have in my house. It's like an entryway bench with cubbies underneath, and I bought the baskets separately, and the kids already know. You get home, you put your shoes in the basket. If those shoes are out of place, I hide them. Like, I told you petty and passive aggressive doesn't work with my spouse, but it works with the kids. So if they leave their shoes out, like they come home and they leave them in the middle, I grab the shoes and I hide them. I'm sorry, but those shoes go in the basket, and they know that. The boys have a basket, the girls have a basket, and I have sandals by the door. So 1 pair of sandals by the door is not so bad because everyone uses them. It's like for mail, for packages, for refilling the squirrel bench from bird seeds. If you don't watch my weekend vlogs, that makes no sense to you. They're baskets, and they're very big baskets. The boys could have 5 or 6 pairs of shoes in there at a time. The girls have real big feet, so they can have maybe 3 to 4 pairs. 2 to 3 pairs at a time, but there's 3 baskets. So if there's no room, there's always room in another basket for them to put their shoes away. But that could become disastrous real quick and messy, but you have to have a designated shoe zone for them. They're not doing it on purpose. They're not trying to like have a shoe party and throw stuff everywhere. They just might not have like a centralized shoe location, or you might not have something that's like a cute setup that hides the evidence. So for me, it's important to not see the visual disturbance, because some people have like a spot. This is the shoe spot, but it's still visually upsetting. So if you have a place to, if you have a designated spot, but that's also visually appealing, it really, really helps. My bench is from Target, I believe, and the baskets are from Amazon. My mother-in-law is overbearing with our new daughter and her one and only granddaughter. I took extended FMLA to spend with my daughter, not with her, included once a week. I have conflicting thoughts. My first mother-in-law, such a good woman. Oh man, she's like the perfect mother-in-law. That lady would throw herself in a pool of sharks to help you, to make you happy, to please you, you know, like a dream mother-in-law. But along with that comes the imposition of she feels she can have say in your life. So like she would rearrange my kitchen and feed the kids food that I didn't like them to eat and stuff like that. And it just boiled down to picking your battles, you know. She loves me, she accepts me, she treats me well, she loves my kids, she's a great mom. So I would let certain things slide. But there was a time where I had the conversation of, I'm the mom, you're not. So setting boundaries is never something that should make you feel uncomfortable. The recipient of the boundaries will 9 times out of 10 not receive them well, but that's because you setting boundaries means they don't get to disrespect you the way that they're doing, or you're making them realize they were disrespecting you and they feel shame. And so it's a complex subject. Telling someone, hey, these are my boundaries because you're violating them. I have to establish them because you're violating, you know, my rules or my way of life or whatever. And so it's not a good message to receive. It makes you feel like crappy, you know? And so I did have that conversation with my mother-in-law, which was, I appreciate everything you do. However, I'm the mom and the decisions will always be mine and my spouse at the time, and we know what's best for our kids. If you have a varying opinion or if you think something you know might help, I would love to hear it, right? I would love to hear what you have to say. I would love to hear your advice. I always welcome your advice and your help because I think moms that have been on this planet for longer than me have helpful advice. And so I never shut the door. And so letting them know, you know, I'm the mom, and it's making me feel a little bit like you're stepping on my toes. And I don't like feeling that way. It makes me feel yucky. And I know you mean well. So maybe we can work together so that you don't make me feel so yucky, but you're still getting to be the best grandma in the world to your only granddaughter. Now, here's my conflicting thought. If she's only there 1 day a week, maybe you're being a little, I don't know. You know, if she was there like 3-4 days a week, or she wouldn't leave, or she stays all day or something. But if she's just there 1 day a week, I think maybe you can suck it up. And it also depends on how she's taking over. Like, is she giving her peanut butter or eggs or something you don't feel comfortable? Or is she criticizing the way you run your house? You know, if she's making you feel uncomfortable, regardless of the amount of time she's there, uncomfortable is uncomfortable, like this one right now. If you don't feel yucky at any moment in time for that 1 day, then it's not okay. But if it really is just, oh, she's here the whole day and she's like loving on her too hard and, you know, that's my day off, I think maybe we gotta shift perspective and we gotta be like, I have my mother-in-law the whole day. I'm gonna go get a pedicure, and I'm gonna go shopping, and I'm gonna take a long bubble bath and relax and drink some Winc. Maybe it's just a shift in perspective is all it is. It's like, it's grandma's day, which means it's mommy's day off. Mommy thug life, I get to go out, I get to look cute, I get to wash my hair, and I don't have to run out and, I think you're seeing this at totally the wrong way. Use that FMLA as mommy time too, because listen, you have to heal too. You got to stay true to who you are, and you don't want to lose yourself in just being mom, 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 mom. I get it. She's a baby and you just want to absorb every minute you have with her. But that 1 day a week might be that 1 day that you need that perfect amount of respite of everything else that's going on for you to recharge and just even be a better mommy because you had that time for yourself. I think we need to talk about this, friend. I think we need to talk about this. We're not looking at this in the right way at all. We got to change perspectives. Yeah. I totally talked myself full circle around that question. That was a really good question. Thank you for leaving that. It's tough because I definitely like to advocate for in-laws, but at the same time, I've had, you know, both perspectives, and I could see how it can be a little not your favorite, you know? How did you feel when your mom mentioned Parker's pancita? I cringed. Growing up in a big family that always said stuff like that was the worst. So in last weekend's vlog, Parker was hammering something up high and his shirt lifted up, and my mom was like, look at Parker's big tummy. And I laughed because my laugh was, ugh, my mom's saying something inappropriate again. But I laughed because it's better for me to laugh at it than snap at her at this stage in my life. I can see as a recipient of that message how that would hurt my feelings. And Parker is his number one sensitivity trigger is his physical appearance. If you comment on his weight, he is very sensitive when it's about his weight, how much he weighs, if he's gained weight or not. It's hurtful for him. It's very hurtful. I don't think he took it that way, thankfully, but I'm used to the cringeworthy comments because they're that often. I'm not a believer in saying, oh, that's just how my mom is, or boys will be boys. I don't like those blanket statements that pardon bad behavior. I don't think that's fair. I'm not going to say boys will be boys. I'm not going to say my mom making mom no, that's not passable. It is not a passable argument. I will not accept it. It is not okay. However, a lot of context comes into play. How it was made, when it was made, how it was meant, how it was interpreted, if anyone's feelings were hurt. If nobody's feelings were hurt, why am I gonna make a big deal about it? You know, but if someone's feelings were hurt, you better damn well believe I'm gonna address it. I think I've filtered through being able to weed out when ill will is intended, and I nip it in the bud in that moment. That's really important. Know who the recipient is, know who it's coming from, know what the intention is. So there's a lot of context, but yeah, it wasn't a good comment. This is a good one. So I ran into my ex's dad. He said that he had hoped my ex and I would be friends. He said he knows his son has been tortured over it for 2 years, but is it bad that I am absolutely thrilled that my ex is tortured about our breakup? Okay, that's it. I hope you get this message continuously. I think there's a lot of missing components. It sounds like maybe he wasn't the best boyfriend ever, and it sounds like you had a lot to work through and you finally gave up and moved on with your life, and now that you know that you in some ways feel validated, I think it's celebratory worthy, you know? Like, I think this is something that you call your best friend and you're like, girl, and she's like, what? And then you talk about it, you know? So Sam knows there are moments where I'm like, dude, like that's all she gets. She just gets the text in all caps that says, dude. And then I say something really petty that happened and we celebrate it. It's something that you can be secretly excited about in your circle of trust, you know, like us, like you're sharing with us. So I'm like, yeah, girl, you better regret it, mother, you know, like it's fine. It's totally fine because we're in the circle of trust. But it's also, I don't believe in celebrating someone else's demise or disgrace or bad luck. You know, like if something bad were to happen to my co-parent, I would never celebrate it. I would never be happy about it. In fact, a lot of bad things have happened in the last year. And like I said, I show up for them. I show up for him. I show up for them. I show up for his family because that's the right thing to do. You know, and I don't think you wouldn't do that either. But between us being able to be like, yeah, you miss me because look at this. Yeah, you should celebrate. Dude, you should definitely celebrate. Right, Sophia? Right? Wouldn't you celebrate it? Heck yeah, mother... Yeah, it's worth celebrating. I think karma has a very interesting way of working out, and sometimes it's not violent, and sometimes it's not obvious, and sometimes it's not big and grandiose, and sometimes it's just as simple as running into your ex-father-in-law and him saying, I really wish you had been my daughter-in-law, and that's it. That's that moment in time that chapter closes, and you can move on and be like, yeah, I knew I had it. I knew I had it. And now I know. This guy that likes me keeps giving me mixed signals. What do I do? Oh, that's a hard one. Because like single Dani, like young Dani, like fake boobs young Dani, it was exciting. It was like, ooh, are you gonna like me today? Oh, you don't like me today, then I'm gonna like you extra. It was a thrill of the chase. Now in like where I am in life as divorced with kids, remarried, like anybody that would waste my time, I would nip it in the bud, bury it and move on. I did not entertain it at all whatsoever. And that's not something that you just flip a switch on. It's something that eventually wears you out and you realize, I'm not loving myself right now. And so either you have the conversation with him where you're like, listen, I don't know if you mean to be doing this, but I'm a little confused. For the most part, I'm confused. I don't know if you like me or not. And it would make me feel a lot better knowing where you stand. I'm not asking for a commitment. I'm not asking for a full-on relationship. I just want to know, do you like me or not? Because sometimes I feel like you do, other times you don't, and it doesn't make me feel nice. So if you want to have that mature conversation, I don't believe in gender roles when it comes to my time. You know, I love gender roles when it comes to you lift up the heavy stuff and you take out the trash. I love gender roles when it comes to that. But when it comes to feelings and wasting my time, I don't believe in them. And I don't think it's fair that you feel this way. And why can't you just ask him about it? Like, why can't you just say, hey, listen, the way you treat me makes me feel this way. Is that what you intend? Put him on the spot, you know? Like, just like that airplane can agree with me, is put him on the spot. Is that how you want me to feel? Oh, that's not what you want me to feel. Okay, well, that's how it makes me feel. So how can we get to a better place? For the most part, on my almost 40 years of living on this planet, I can say guys are very smart and they tend to do a lot of things they don't realize they're doing. So give them a little, just give them a little pass, give them a little grace, and have the grown-up conversation if you feel comfortable. If you don't think he would be receptive to a mature conversation, then boom, you're out. Like, stop wasting your time. Because I think it should be very obvious. If you follow all those relationship influencers like Matthew Hussey or whatever, if you follow those influencers, or therapist, whatever. If you follow them, most of them will say, if a guy likes you, you'll know. If a guy doesn't like you, you'll be confused. It's simple. But I also think that it's a barbaric statement and can discredit a lot of people without giving the benefit of the doubt. I love giving people the benefit of the doubt. Usually it bites me in the butt, but sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes it's a simple misunderstanding, or maybe you interpreted something the wrong way, or he wasn't very clear about his message. So it's not black and white a lot of the times. Sometimes it is, not always. How do you handle finances with Parker to make sure it's fair for everyone? We have one pot. It's money I make is his money. Money he makes is all my money. No. So there's no his and mine. There's no, this is my money, this is your, it's all in the open. He has access to all my accounts. I have access to all of his accounts. If I have any questions, I ask. If he has any questions, he asks. It is fluid. It is one pot. The only time we run into financial issues is when we get sprung with a bill we weren't planning for. And that happens relatively often, and it's something we're working on, but it causes a ton of conflict between us. So like, my co-parent will say, hey, Daniel needs to go to the dentist. He needs 3 separate appointments and it's gonna be $700. I scheduled 2 appointments. These are the times and the dates. I know it's a lot of money. Should we postpone? You let me know. And then I look at my calendar and I'm like, I'll take him to the appointments. The money's okay. And we plan for it. So it's on our forefront, you know? And so we don't like surprises. And the fact that Parker and I aren't debt carriers, we don't believe in rolling balances and things like that. So we're like, we want to go on a trip. We know that money is going to be needed. So we set aside for it. We need to do this. We set aside for it. So we don't like surprise bills. And when a surprise bill shows up, I'm very not okay with it. And it causes very high stress or tension in our relationship. And so, I mean, if you're all in, you're all in. But when it comes to finances, it's one of the top 3 reasons why marriages and relationships don't work out. So what works for me might not work well for you. What are your boundaries when it comes to finances? Do you like to have your own pot? Do you like to know where your money's going? Do you like it to be 50-50? Do you believe in gender roles where he has to carry like the primary expenses, like the cost of living? And so what are your comfort parameters? What are your comfort boundaries when it comes to finances? For us, it's very clear. All our money is all our money. And if we want to spend something, we plan on it and we cost it out and we save for it. We don't carry debt. We don't go shopping, you know, and get a ton of stuff without the other person being aware. Parker doesn't monitor how I spend money. I don't monitor how he spends money. He's very pragmatic about things. I'm very emotional and impulsive about things. But when it comes to money, I mean, we are the same, which really, really helps. I think having previous experience with poor money management on both of our sides really has gotten us to this place where we are in a good place, you know, where we both agree on how we spend money. So when anything is a surprise, we both are like, what? And it's not good. For the first time in my adult life, I have to pay federal income taxes and I'm not happy. I don't know, girl, that feels like something worth celebrating, because doesn't that mean that you hit a great year? High five. Hey, listen, it's a blessing. Kind of. I know it's upsetting. I mean, I'm self-employed and the government takes about 35%, maybe 40% of what I do. So it does hurt, but you get used to it and it feels good to be in a higher bracket, even though it feels like you're getting punished. Snoring partner might involve hypothetical murder plot. Nothing triggers me more. That is getting to be almost a deal breaker with me and my spouse. And I think it's a deal breaker because there's always been an excuse, like, I'm not the snorer, by the way. And so Parker's like, oh, it's because I've gained weight. Oh, it's because I have TMJ. Oh, it's because this. And I've always been receptive to it. I'm like, listen, if you snore, I can go sleep somewhere else. It's not upsetting to me. I'll go sleep on the couch. I'll go sleep in one of the kids' rooms. I'll go sleep upstairs in the family room. I don't mind. But when I would do that, he would get upset. Like, I'm leaving our bed, you know, like our marriage bed, and it's rude. What did I do? I did something wrong. And I'm like, no, I'm just trying to get a peaceful night's sleep. And so he was like, no, if I'm snoring, you wake me up and I'll go sleep somewhere else. And I'm like, well, that just defeats the purpose. Now we're both awake. You know, I want at least one of us to get a good night's sleep. So he goes and he makes this grand investment in this machine that's supposed to get him to stop snoring. He spent about $400, but he never turns it on. The minute he made that investment and didn't use it, that's when I started to do the hypothetical murder plot, because I'm like, listen, I was accommodating to you. I was open-minded. I said I would go sleep somewhere else. I was the one that was willing to make the sacrifice, and now you're spending all this money that we don't have and you don't even use it? Now I want to kill you. So if you guys have recommendations on snoring partners, advice, someone was like, you just got to do a loving tap on his mouth like you're tickling him and he'll stop snoring. Nothing of me is loving when someone's kept me up for 2 hours. No part of me is loving at that point, okay? So I'm not gonna lovingly stroke him and tickle him up. No. You know what's gonna happen? Is I'm gonna lovingly stroke myself upstairs and find some peace where I don't hear the snoring. The good thing about Parker is he's so sweet, so open-minded, so accommodating. Like, I could tell this man, like, never wear polka dots again in your life because they hurt my feelings. And he was like, okay. He goes through his closet and takes out all the polka dots. Like, that's just how he is. He is a wonderful, wonderful, loving, accommodating partner. But the snoring man, listen, if you're gonna drop that much money, it better be on food, a treat, a vacation, or something you actually turn on. I did not want to end this video on this note, so let's find a happy question. Can't help you there, amiga. Can't help you. Are dry spells normal in a relationship, and advice on how to get out of the drought? I'm gonna end it there. That is a very profound question, and pardon me that I'm not looking at you guys, but I'm actually trying to find a post that is actually about that. Yes, dry spells are 100% normal, and they're a lot more common than people talk about. We should really start a club that's like, normalize dry spells, because they are in fact normal, they are common, they are frequent, and a lot of things contribute to the dry spell. So let me see if I could find it. It's this post that was like, normalize these things in a relationship. Normalize disagreements, needing alone time, miscommunication, doubt, adjusting to boundaries, changing the relationship dynamics. So like roles, like you do this all the time, all the time, all the time. And like right now for me, I'm like, I can't always do all the birthday shopping. I can't always do all the birthday parties. I can't always do all the party decor and the Christmas shopping and the schedules. Like, I can't always do it. I need your help. So that's that change in the dynamics of relationships or roles, normalize making mistakes and apologizing, having different sex drives, engaging in awkward conversations, and having your needs met outside of a relationship, like hobbies or friends. And so yes, droughts are super normal, but they're a lot more common than we expect. So for us, it happens in bouts. You know, if we, for an extended period of time, don't go out on dates, we grow apart. If we go through a moment where we're not physically intimate, we grow apart. If we have a moment where one of our dogs is very sick and I'm done. Like, I'm not a wife. I shut down completely, and all I am is a pet parent, and obviously a human parent, like of my kids. But I'm sorry, Parker, but I don't have any bandwidth for you. When Wesley was at the hospital and he was admitted, I was like, I fully told him, I said, I'm gonna neglect you. Yeah, so I was very transparent. I said, I can't be a wife and a mom and a dog mom and do the appointments and all the medication and all, just my emotional weight is all with Wesley right now, and I can't burden all of it. But I was very transparent. But I think that droughts in relationships come for so many different reasons, whether it's someone's working too much, something went by unresolved. That for us is a very big trigger, is if someone does something and we don't heal from it, we don't apologize from it, or it just doesn't get addressed, it just piles up, and the rift gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then we have a drought. But it can be as simple as we just haven't spent one-on-one time together without the kids, without the dogs, without the whatever. And so, yeah, I think we need to normalize droughts in relationships. They are normal. What is not normal is not identifying them when they happen. So when they happen, talk about it. Fix it. Figure it out. For me, the easiest way to get past a drought is identifying why it happened in the first place. It could be as simple as day-to-day life got overwhelming and you drifted apart, or it could be as complex as you're having trust issues, or you haven't had sex in a month, or you have a newborn at home. Hey, I'm sorry, but you can't put a newborn away. You can't take the batteries out and put the baby in the closet. You know, that's just not how it happens. Someone in your family could be sick and you're stressed out. So droughts are normal, but the span of reasons why they happen could be so complex or so simple, but it's big span of reasons. And so step one to figuring out the drought is why. Once you can identify the why, you can start fixing it. I never willingly say, I want to have a drought from Parker. I want to have some distance from Parker. No, it's usually like, my parents are stressing me out. Mateo is struggling in school. Wesley's sick, you know, co-parent drama or whatever, and we grow apart. And I can honestly tell you that every single time I'm having a drought, I know why, but it takes me time to heal from it and then to come back. But I can't be apart from that man for longer than, I don't know, a week, maybe, when I'm like, okay, I think I'm ready to figure this out. But no, droughts are super, super common. They could last a few days, a month, several months. Leaving it unnursed or unidentified is not okay, because the wedge isn't gonna get smaller on its own. It's only gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger. And a lot of times it could be so simple to reflect and look back and identify why and just squash it. And other times it could be a really glaring, obvious example of deeper rooted issues that need help getting fixed. You don't ever want to fall into a drought that completely dries out and there's no coming back from, you know? But like I said, it's common. Like, you get tired of people, you get bored of people, you get annoyed of people, you get stressed out by other things in life, and the last thing you want to do is have another chore come into your life. And when you're prioritizing differently and you stop prioritizing your relationship, it starts to become like a chore, or it starts to become like something you have to deal with as opposed to something you want to work with. I think at the end of the day is that desire of wanting to turn to your partner. 1.5 million times I run into I regress and I turn inwards when I have problems. I shut down, I internalize it, and I fix it on my own. I could do this on my own. And all of the times that I've done that, it causes a rift or a wedge. It drives a wedge between Parker and I. And the times that I've turned to him to figure things out, it gets solved in a matter of minutes. It is astonishing. So if you picked a partner that shows up for you, and if you picked a partner that is receptive to you and your needs and how things happen, a drought is something that's normal, but it's also something that could be fixed pretty easily. Don't feel guilty about having a drought. Don't feel like it's something bad. Don't feel like it's, oh, you know, the doom and gloom and my relationship is doomed. No. All relationships have. How do you think those relationships last like 30 or 40 years? You know why? Because one partner is a little blind and the other partner is a little deaf, okay? Droughts are super, super normal, so don't ever guilt yourself into thinking, oh no, this is bad. No, have questions, figure out why, and then turn towards each other. And I know that's advice I need to take myself, because I tend to go the opposite direction. It's hard for me to turn towards my partner because I still equate that with weakness. Like, I'm not doing it on my own. But if you have a partner, they have a job. Empower them to be able to do their job and support you. And so what happened? What's going on there? Let's figure this out, but let's do it together, because one partner can't do it on their own. You know, you need each other. You need to identify it together and then go on a date night and do what you do best, perverts, and figure it out together. Droughts are important because they make you refocus when you turn back to each other, but they're also something that you need to, you can't just shove it under the rug. You got to identify that. You know, it's the elephant in the room that needs to be talked about. So I really hope that our little conversation encourages you to turn towards your partner and identify why the drought is happening. And maybe it needs to last a little bit longer. Maybe you have a newborn at home and that's okay. Or maybe it's gone on for long enough and you need to be proactive and, you know, reach for your partner and lead them back to you and be like, listen, motherfucker, we got to figure this out. All right. So what's it going to be? We doing this? What are we doing? Are we bumping? Bumping? What do kids say now? Bumping boots? Scooching boots? Oh, I just totally gave away my age. This is terrible. Anyway, you guys, I have kept you on here long enough. This video is long enough. Do you know how many times I've had to reset my camera because it overheats? This is what I do for you guys because I love you, and I especially love doing these girl chats, Dear Dani videos with you. I think it's important to hear someone, a random stranger on the internet, letting you know that yes, families do cause drama. Yes, being divorced is hard. Yes, dating is hard. Yes, kids are the worst sometimes. Yes, pets break our hearts sometimes. Like, it's important to see someone that you're in a parasocial relationship with tell you, I'm on the same boat as you, sister. It just makes the world feel a lot smaller, and it makes us feel seen, validated, and heard. And if I can put my life on blast for you to just make you feel better just for a few minutes, I am more than happy to oblige. I hope you find something in this video useful. Listen, if you don't, at the very least, Winc is 50% off right now, you guys. So get yourself 4 bottles of wine for $30 and free shipping. I will have a link in the description box below if you guys are interested. This Cause Rosé is freaking fantastic, and I am so happy to have done this video with you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to check the description box for details on my makeup, on my shirt, on Winc, on all of that stuff. It will be listed in the description box below. I love you guys so much, and you know what to do. If you found this video useful, entertaining, and learned something, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, this coffee break is over. Bye, guys.